In today's video, I want to share with you two distinct concepts, but in under one hood, so to speak. Often we think about things that we want to achieve in our life, and we start thinking about it, we really put some emotion behind it, and then it just never happens. Nothing really comes to life. And so it's relegated and stuck in the world of just ideas and thoughts, and it just never seems to happen. So today I wanted to bring together and put an image behind this thought process of what is imagination, how does it work, and how does it come to life, and what are the biggest challenges that hinder us and stand between us and achieving that particular thing that we want to achieve. So I'm going to get right into it. The method that I'm going to be using is called the back of the napkin kind of explanation, where instead of a napkin, I'm using a big old piece of paper. It's 8.5 by 11, and I'm just going to go through the steps on here all in a row. So in the end, it's going to look like a pile of mess. But for you, those who stick from beginning to end will know exactly what the whole process is about. Now let's get started. So imagine this is you right here, okay? And in previous videos, I always talk about what Bob Proctor talks a lot about this. There's your mind, okay? The picture of your mind, where you got your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. Everything I ever talk about is going to be based off of this principle and this concept. So your conscious mind, your subconscious mind. Now, let's say you're sitting there and you're like, okay, you're imagining that I want to achieve this thing, okay? So in your life, you have some kind of experience, okay? And this is where this whole thing begins. You start off with an experience. So this is step one. You have some kind of experience in your outer world. Say you're growing up, and like for me, I never had much mentoring, and that's my outside world, that's my outer world experience. I never had mentoring, and then when I got it, I was like, boom, I want that. I really want to help others create that. And so I had my experience, and this experience created a desire in me. So when you take this desire, the way this desire looks in real life is when you say to yourself or out loud, hey, I want ... okay? When you combine something, you say I want, and then you add some emotion behind it, that's a true desire right there. Okay? And so when you say I want something, when you have a desire where you're like, I want something, and put some emotion behind it, the next step, what happens in our mind is it goes first through our conscious mind, okay? So step 3 is this desire of, okay, I want so-and-so. You start putting some emotion to it, and as you start transferring it from just I want and putting emotion into it, it goes from your conscious mind into your subconscious mind, okay? And then now say it's in your subconscious mind, and remember, our subconscious mind is the thing that makes things happen. Say you want to see red Hondas. Today you're going to be driving around and you're going to be seeing all the red Hondas you've never seen before. And you can try this with any car. I remember when I was living in Albany, New York, and I was like, okay, I saw some things on Ferraris. I'm like, I've never seen a Ferrari here. And then I had the desire. I'm like, you know what? I really want to see some Ferraris. I really, really wanted it, which is the emotion. And then when it got into my subconscious, guess what? That's step 4. That's like level 4. I started seeing them everywhere. Within a few days, I saw like a half a dozen of them. I was like, holy moly, red Ferraris. So when we want something just consciously and then put some emotion to it, and it goes in, once it hits our subconscious, it hits this other part of you. I don't know what you want to call it. You could call it anything. Okay, this thing. And it's this thing, in this case it's our subconscious, I'll call it your subconscious mind, but I'm drawing a separate thing because what you are aware of is right here. This is your awareness of who you are and what you are. But once you tie emotion to a desire, it goes into this other gear. Another gear shifts in. And then this gear, what it does, or this thing, aka your subconscious mind, it goes into step 5. So say I wanted something. Now, say I wanted to see these red cars, these red Ferraris. So what happened is my subconscious mind, or this thing, whatever you call it, you can call it, I'll just refer to it as the subconscious mind. It starts actually creating, okay, for your desire to become reality, step 1 has to happen. Okay? It's like, if you ever seen Spider-Man, when he shoots the web out, that's what this is. This is like your personal Spider-Man, okay, or Spider-Woman, and it goes and like catches these things, okay. It latches onto them, and then the next thing happens. All of a sudden, you want something. It goes into your subconscious mind, and then somewhere along the journey, you're like, oh, I want to take this exit instead of that exit. And now your job is, well, let's see, let me draw it out like this so you understand. This first step of what could make your desire reality, just the first step, comes into a desire. It goes back into desire. And what do I mean by it goes back into desire? So this is step 6. All of a sudden, you're gonna say or feel like I want to act action on a thought. Okay. So you have some kind of thought, and you're like, okay, I want to act on it. That's step 1, coming into your world, into your reality, and saying, hey. Or some call it you got a hunch. Or some call it the soft voice. Okay, so that's 6. The step 1, it comes into your now actual physical, back into your physical brain as an action thought or a hunch, like a soft voice, go do this. While that's happening, your personal spider person is out there working full time on creating step 2, step 3, step 4. While you are consciously getting this hunch and you decide to start acting on it, guess what? It's still trying to catch all the other steps so that you could make your desire reality. Now, your choice is very simple. You have a hunch to take one exit over another, and the decision is for you, well, what is trying to get you to do? It's trying to get you to act, okay? So step 7, it's trying to get you to act. Your job is to act on it. Okay, so now you have this hunch. Your job is to do what? It's to act on it. Okay? That's the big thing. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where things kind of get a little dicey. So, again, 1, you get an experience. It becomes a desire. Once you make this desire, I want something, put some emotion behind it, it goes from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind. And now this thing, your personalized spider person says, okay, step 1 has to happen, and it brings it into your reality, and it sticks it into your back into your real world, into an actual desire, a hunch to do something. And now this hunch, hold on a second, you go from just a desire to now acting on it. Okay, boom, that's number 7. You have a choice. Now this desire to act, and number 8 is, boom, the action itself. Now, there's one little caveat in this section right here. There's 2 types of people. The first type of person is they take the journey as it comes, okay? They're not rushing it. They're not trying to go too fast on it. They're not pushing it. The other type of person is when this process starts coming to life and bubbling into the real world from just idea. Now it's like, okay, step 1 happens, step 2, and they get impatient. And these people try to cheat the process. Okay? These people try to cheat the process by trying to go buy some kind of a lottery ticket and hope that that's going to be their ticket out. Or they just try to go rob a bank or hurt somebody, steal, go rob somebody, and things of that nature. They try to shortcut the process of progress. Now the thing is, when step 1 comes into our mind, we have to act on it, okay? We have to make a decision here, and we have to act on it. The big thing to understand is that, okay, let me put this asterisk here, you got to understand, you got to grasp that time is involved here. And so person A, they allow for time, okay? They just act on the next thing they need to do. They act on the next thing they do. They're patient, okay? These people are patient. While person B, on the other hand, they cheat. They try to speed up the process, speed up the journey. And usually when you try to run faster than you can, you trip up. Okay? These people trip themselves. I was like this so often in trying to cheat the system, or like in my cases, you're trying to get into stock market and put money where you think it's going to be good, but then next thing you know, you lose all your money. You're trying to cheat the whole process of progress. And so these two people, say you are person A who allows for time and you're patient and you're like, okay, I have this desire to create something. And so your personalized spider person says, okay, do 1. So you're like, okay, you're patient. You're like, I decide to act on it, okay? It goes from desire, you either just live your desire or act on it. So now you act on it, you're patient, and this is where a huge wall, a lot of people, most people will hit. This is where things get really dicey and confusing for people. They're like, I'm being patient. I'm putting all this effort into it. I'm working, but idea A is not coming to life. Like what I desire does not seem to come to life. And as a matter of fact, not only does it not come to life, but it's getting worse and worse for me. My life seems to be getting worse on the outside. And here is why this is happening to you. Say you are person A right here, okay? Boom. You're patient. You're awesome. You're doing all the right things. The thing is, when you start acting on your idea here, or on your desire, let's call it idea A. Idea A. So you're an A type of person with an idea. Okay, boom. We got that boxed in. When you start acting on something, this is where things hit an interesting, we could call it a speed bump for most people. Some it might be called an unseen wall. This is where your old programs lay, guys. Your old programming. I'm not sure if programming has 1 or 2 M's. Let's do 2, just because. So when you start acting on things, you have to realize that you have to contend with old previous ideas that are in your subconscious mind here, that are already naturally out there catching whatever you're thinking about, desiring. So whatever you thought to believe to be the truth. Now let's go back. Say you have this idea A, okay? So you have idea A, and you're starting to So you had an experience, you have this idea. Oh man, I really want to create this thing. You're thinking about it. You're thinking about it. Your personal spider person says, okay, step 1 has to happen. Then step 2 needs to happen. That happens. Then step 3, thing 4 has to happen. And all of a sudden, it's now boom. This whole thing we'll call an experience happens to you, and now idea A, right here, your desire idea A is possible now. Okay? All this had to happen right here so that this can become a reality. Either it becomes reality, or more often than not, A now becomes possible to become real. Okay, you got to understand that difference, or hear the difference. Most of the time, we want A lot of things have to set up and have to happen for it to even be a reality. And so this is where things get very interesting, because more often than not, a person gets bogged down in the emotion. Okay, of either part of the experience that was negative, or in the whole experience as a whole. They get bogged down in the negative experience of it, and instead of taking authorship of it and recognizing their own brilliance, they completely say, nope, I don't have any authorship. They get stuck in the emotions. They're blaming an individual, or they're blaming the whole experience for saying that that's the reason I did not achieve my idea, and they're hating, they're angry, they're mad at somebody or something for doing something to you. And all they do is walk away with a lesson of the situation. So they're like, I'm going to avoid this person, or they come to a conclusion from the experience where I should never trust men, or I should never trust women, or I should never trust human beings. They just come away with 1 or 2 lessons, and that's it. And then the thing is, if you're full of emotions about your experience, or just one particular experience, or the experience as a whole, and all you have is just a lesson or 2 to take away from it, this is where we create what I call a boom moment. Okay, this is a big thing to understand right here. So now you've created for yourself a bad, overwhelming, over-empowering memories. Now that you're stuck in these bad, over-empowering, negative memories, one of the ways I describe this is it's called a domino effect. Okay, and the domino effect is simple. One domino can take a domino twice. One domino, when you hit it, it can take the next domino twice as big it can take down. So it gets exponentially bigger, and bigger. And in life, the domino effect is, say the last domino just fell and there's like this rush of wind, and there you are standing. You just experienced the domino effect right here, the boom moment. You might be walking one day and all of a sudden you just feel all these negative emotions, or you come across an individual who ripped you off and you just get all this hatred, or somebody says, hey, let's start a business, and then it triggers all the other thoughts that you had trying another business before, and you get this boom effect. You're just overwhelmed by an emotion, and then what it does, it triggers false beliefs in you. Old lies come into your mind. You start remembering wrong conclusions you came to, but in the moment you think they're right, about yourself and your capability and capacity to create and do things. Okay? That is called old programming. All this right here, you just experienced a boom moment. Like a couple of weeks ago, I had a moment where I just felt like giving up, and I'm like, hold on a second, let me. The last thing I felt was like, why am I even doing this? What's the point? That was a boom effect, and so I went backwards and understood it and realized that I had an old program running in my mind. Oftentimes, this downward, I call this the downward death spiral of progress. Okay, it's this whirlwind of emotions that keep you from progressing. And what now, bringing this all together, imagine this. You have some experience in your outer world right here, okay? And you're like, wow, I have a desire. I want to create A, and then you put some emotion into it, and it goes from just emotions from your conscious mind. Now it transfers into your subconscious mind. Your personal spider person says, okay, let me start setting up a world where this desire becomes reality, or in this case, thought A can become reality. So it gives you step one, and it spits it right back into your real world and says, hey, go do this through an action, a thought, or a hunch, a soft voice, as some call it. The choice is, do I do something with it or do I not? So you say, okay, at point 7, you say, okay, I'm going to act on it. And you see, when you try to act on it, you got to understand that that's where your old paradigms run, okay? On an old paradigm, say you want to start a business, and it gives you the first step to do, and you're like, okay, let me act on it, but all of a sudden, an old paradigm kicks in, this whirlwind of emotions happens, and guess what? You say, okay, old paradigm, either you're right, or, well, if you say, yes, I guess that is true. If you agree with your old paradigm, it's going to kick you away into a no-go. Okay, you're not going to pursue that thing, and you're just going to sit back and just pick your nose and watch some movie on, be a couch potato. But if you say, okay, if you recognize this, and there's a whole process that I teach, it's called I Am the Author series, where you're like, okay, you recognize that it's an old paradigm, you got a desire, you get an idea, you say act on it, an old paradigm kicks in, you get this emotional state right here, you're at the receiving end of a domino effect. You recognize these false beliefs, and instead of taking a whirlwind, the downward death spiral of success, you use it as a step ladder to say, boom, this is a old paradigm I don't agree with, it's actually wrong. You recognize it, you realize it, you reframe it, and realize that you were the author of idea all along, and that idea set up these situations, the experience. You realize that you got stuck in emotion. Then you take your authorship back, you recognize the brilliance of your personal spider person of everything, and then you work your way backwards. You realize that you are the one who created this whole system for yourself, your brilliance, the brilliance of how this is set up in our world, in this world of how things come to life, our dreams, ideas, goals, desires, is amazing. And so that's really putting two things together, where I Am the Author is this process where you can work your way backwards and use and recognize these experiences that you actually set them up. You desired them powerfully enough that they came to your life. And now you can use them to, instead of being destructive, they're constructive to you. I'm not going to call them positive or negative. Like this experience, this whole experience for you might have been positive or negative, you're looking at it, but I'm saying constructive or destructive towards your goal. Now, the only question we're trying to figure out, other than answering, is what I desire, is it what I really want? And that's what I wanted to share in today's video, this process of how desire actually comes to life and the process behind it. And that there is a method by which you can work your way backwards. Every time you get one of those emotional, you're at the receiving end of a domino effect, and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't want to do something, or these old programs try to kick in, you take them and you use them to your advantage, so that step 2 can come along into real life, then step 3, and then your goal can actually be made real. I hope this was helpful to you guys, because it was super helpful to me. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.